Does anybody here have a cell phone? Can you show me if you have a cell phone? Because what you need to do is go like this. Turn it off. Okay. My name's Josh Resnick. I'm from the Revere Journal. And we want to thank everybody for coming to this exercise of free speech and discussion with a few questions for everybody running for the Alderman-at-Large position. At first, I'd like to thank Tom Mafucci, the music teacher who just led the Rumney Marsh Ensemble. Did a great job. I want to thank Cindy Evans, the principal, for making the stage available to us and to the people of Revere and to the viewers out in cable land. I'd like to also thank Superintendent Dr. Paul Dakin for his cooperation and enthusiasm. Couldn't be done without Revere TV, Bob Dunbar, Paul Diamato, and Mark Ferrante. And we have here as well a group of young people from the Rumney Marsh journalism class led by Rochelle Rubino, and they'll be covering this tonight. We should give them a small round of applause. Once again, thank you. And the way this is going to work is everyone is seated, as you can see, in their positions. And what we do is we have 11 questions. And we will pull the number out of this box right here. I also want to introduce Seth Daniel, our senior writer. Sorry. And Carrie Schumann, our editor-in-chief, who will be keeping the stopwatch. The way it's going to happen is we will choose one question at a time. 11 questions were written up, given to the candidates yesterday so that they could prepare themselves. They don't know which question they're going to get. We're going to pull a number from that, which is the number of the question. Tony Zambuto will start, and we'll go in that direction all the way around to John Correggio. And then for the final question, we'll start with John Correggio and go around to Tony Zambuto, who will finish up. Everybody has 2 minutes to give their answer to the question, and can basically answer the question and use any extra time to say whatever they want to say. So once again, thank you all for coming, and let the games begin. Timekeeper will raise his hand when there's 30 seconds left. Thank you, Terry. Seth will pick the first question. The first number.
This goes to Council Tony. Number 8.
Number 8. Councilor Zambuto, is it wrong to be a whistleblower against city employees in the various departments if wrongdoing is taking place?
You can approach the podium or answer from your seat. All candidates.
Whatever you feel more comfortable with.
Well, I want to thank the Journal for running this debate. I also want to thank the students. I wish I had a school like this when I was in middle school. I did end up going to communications school after high school. So you don't know how lucky you are to have a facility like this. I want to thank you for participating tonight. As for the question, I think it is the duty of every elected official to point out any wrongdoings, any employee, or anyone else for that matter, is doing anything wrong in the city. It's our duty to be a so-called whistleblower. It's the way it's done that's important. It's wrong to paint everybody in the department as with a broad brush. It's because one or two people may have done something wrong and made a mistake. Unfortunately, when we find that, the way it's gone is everybody's been painted with a broad brush. Now that's happened in the media, and I'm not just talking about the local media. I'm talking about the Boston media. People automatically, because they work in a department that somebody did something wrong in, is kind of painted with a broad brush. So, you know, in any city, you're going to have mistakes made. And unfortunately, in some cases, even criminal wrongdoing. But it's the way we go about it is important. Not to paint everybody with a broad brush, I would say, is the right way to go about it. And there's a wrong way, and we know what that wrong way is. Thank you.
Okay, now we'll ask a question of Councilor Dan Rizzo. Josh, you want to draw?
Number 11.
Okay, the question is, the city recently got stung for nearly $1 million in attorney fees for the Moonlight Reader court case. Do you think the city should continue to make such tough stands in court despite the risks?
First off, I also want to thank the Review-Journal for sponsoring this debate. Josh and Seth, thank you very much. I'd also like to thank Mr. Mafucci and the kids who gave us such great entertainment prior to entering the hall here this evening, as well as the principal, Cindy Evans. She does a terrific job here at the Rumney Marsh School. As far as taking on developers or taking on businesses that put the city at risk financially, I think you have to make an educated decision as to whether or not to pursue these types of lawsuits. At the time, and this question specifically points out the Moonlight Reader, where it cost the taxpayers almost $1 million. But the way the city went about that was to try to go in and rezone after the fact. And it became a problem more with the process than anything else. And I believe that's why the Moonlight Reader ultimately prevailed. But I don't think that the city of Revere can just lay down or give up our principles and our positions on things because of the risk of a lawsuit. And we know, all of us here that are currently representing city government, and those of us that may in the future represent city government, have an obligation to the taxpayers. And that is to do what the best thing is for the city. Now, if we roll over for every developer or every threat of a lawsuit, then what kind of a backbone do you have as taxpayers in the community? What kind of representation do you have? So as far as I'm concerned, we should take on anybody that's looking to do any type of harm to this city or any projects or proposals that we think would be harmful to our residents. That's our duty. That's our obligation, but we do it educated and we do it professionally in the hopes that our quality of life is preserved here in the city. So with that, again, I want to thank all of you for attending. Thank you very much.
Before we do the next question, I'd like to just note that our representative, Kathy Ann Reinstein, is in the crowd. We'll say hello to Kathy. She does a great job. Linda Rosa will have question number 7. I'll read the question, Linda.
Thank you.
Should city workers pay more of their health insurance than they pay now? And can the city afford to maintain the present situation?
Figures that was the only question I didn't have an answer to. First of all, I'd also like to thank everybody for coming, especially the students, which are our natural resources, and thank the Journal and the administration of the school for having us. That particular question, the reason I didn't have an answer to it is because I don't really know right now how much the city employees are paying. I don't know if they're on, I don't know if they're paying 10% or 15%, but whatever they're paying, I find that it's probably, unfortunately, it might not be enough for the budget to help with expenses, but we're all under budget constraints today, and what you go in with when you become an employee is what you should continue to pay rather than midstream changing rules. I don't think it would be fair to the employees. So yes, I think they should continue to pay what their health coverage is. As far as can the city afford to maintain the present situation, that's another situation that would definitely have to be looked at. Because again, I am not totally aware of the expenses that the city is spending on health care in the city. So unfortunately, I don't have a great answer to that, but I do feel that the people should continue to pay, what they are paying. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next question will go to Councilor George Colella. Josh, you want to draw?
Question number 2.
All right, question number 2. Would you have an agenda as a city councilor at large? And if so, what would that agenda be?
Thank you to the Revere Journal, Josh Resnick and Seth Daniel, to the school department for the use of the beautiful setting as a forum for this question and answer period tonight. And to the youngsters of the Rumney Marsh Academy, my sincere congratulations for your effort and for your work. And to that percussion band, absolutely outstanding. Now, the question, do I have an agenda as a city councilor at large? My agenda is the same as a city councilor at large as it has been as a school board member, as mayor of the city for 20 years, and as a member of the Revere City Council for the past 24 years. My agenda has always been to do the very best that I can for the citizens and taxpayers of this city. And I think to the extent that I have served some 48 years as a member of city government, I think that I have. I think that I can point to many, many initiatives and issues that have been undertaken by myself in any one of those categories and have done the very best that I could. And I think that a reasonable review of the city at this point, at this juncture, would show that many things have come about that have made this a better city to live in. So yes, that is my agenda. And why do I want to be a city councilor at large? Because I still feel that I have a great deal to contribute to make this even a better city than it is today. Thank you very much.
Okay, the next question will go to Councilor George Rotundo, and Josh will ask that.
Question number 6, Councilor Rotundo. What could you do to bring down taxes, if anything? Do you think the city needs to cut into the budget / city services even deeper?
Thank you, Josh, for that question. More importantly, I'd like to thank everybody for showing up tonight. I'd like to thank the viewers for participating. More importantly, I'd like to thank the children of the Rumney Marsh for doing such a spectacular job. And I'd like to thank Paul Dakin and Cindy Evans for allowing us to be here tonight. And lastly, you, Josh, as well as Seth and Carrie. As far as bring down taxes and cut the budget, let's speak frankly. I would honestly say at this point we are at a bare bones minimum. Whether you look to the DPW or for that matter at the Revere Police or even for that matter the fire department. So I don't know how much further we can cut. And bringing down taxes right now, it's something that I'd love to do. In fact, when Bob Hass was mayor of Revere, he brought down the tax rate probably the last time in the last, 15 years or so, by 5 cents, and he was chided for it back then. What I would do today to get back 5 cents for a budget like now. Now, with that said, what I think is most important is how do we bring revenue to Revere? And probably in the next couple of questions, you're going to hear a question regarding gaming coming to Revere. This is something that's going to be legislated up at Beacon Hill and that we're going to have to prepare for as a community. And whether you are for it or against it, That's one source of revenue that's coming here. That would be one way of actually helping the taxpayers. More importantly, I think what we also have to look at is what are we doing as far as development? How are we doing in far as bringing development into this community? That's what we have to work on. We have to continue with streamlining, and more importantly, we have to continue to bring business to Revere. I thank you for the opportunity.
I will add a little plug, something that we're doing new is, for the technologically savvy, is the Twitter website that the Journal has recently gotten up on, and we're doing that tonight, right now. If anybody wants to do that, it's twitter.com/Revere Journal. Very simple. Now, we have the next question going to Councilor Bob Hass. It's question number 1. Question number 1 is, what can the City Council do to bring more development to Revere during the down economic time? And do you support tax breaks for businesses making an investment in Revere?
Thank you once again to the Revere Journal, the staff at the school here, and the percussion band, etc. I think where I excel in my many years as a city official in Revere, as mayor, we brought in over $100 million new development. As you see these new hotels in Revere, I work with our community development department to make it a reality, because as we know, besides the tax, the city of Revere receives 4% extra as a hotel tax. That has gone up to 6% with the city council approving it. Looking at all the development that has occurred in Revere in the 90s, Showcase Center was brand new. I believe, as a councilman at large, I can work with the mayor, regardless of who the mayor may be, and work to entice people to come to Revere for development. I've worked with current Mayor Tom Ambasino, and as the mayor myself, prior to that, we worked hand in hand with all the developers. We met with them, we showed Revere was a good place, a gateway to the North Shore, and it really worked, it really prevailed. As far as future development, what we have to do, we have to go back to the basis. Revere can sell itself, I honestly believe. The City Council, we just approved a $130 million investment for Eurovest and the beachfront, coupled with the brand new Revere Beach. State delegation helped us out dramatically with that. Casino gambling coming in, I know it will come up later on tonight. Look at with Eurovest, $130-odd million, possibly a casino, a racino in Revere. The face of Revere will change dramatically, and I myself would like to be part of it. Thank you.
Richard Penta will get question number 9. The city's population has passed the 60,000 mark. How will the city change in the next 10 years, and what can the council do to help negotiate any changes?
Well, first I want to thank the Revere Journal for putting it on, Paul Dakin, letting us use the school, and especially the kids and everybody else here. As far as the city changing in the next 10 years, I think the city has changed in the past 10 years. And is that for the better? I don't know. That's up for you people to choose. I've been walking the city since February, up and down streets that I thought I knew every street in Revere. I lived here all my life, 55 years. Streets and dead ends that I didn't know were there. And what I seen was a change, and not a change for the better. One of the reasons I started running after being out 6 years is stepping back and seeing what a council should do and what a council should be about and how you make a better city, is to know what's going on in your city and be involved. So I jumped in the race, and since then, the things I jumped in the race and I thought needed change, there's no question. It escalated going house to house, door to door, the things I've seen. And that's small things. Sidewalks you can't step on, have to walk out in the street to get by. People can't even walk their own neighborhoods. 15 mailboxes, 15 names on one mailbox. I mean, we live here, our ancestors came here. I have no problems with anybody coming in here. But it's about time that our enforcement, if it's Board of Health or whatever it may be, make people live the same way that we're taught to live here. Respect the city the way everybody here has. I think we just have to have a fair playing field. The city has changed. Don't be fooled. The city has changed and it's changing. Can we make a difference? There's no question. I'm running to make a difference. I'm asking you people out there to give me a chance to make a difference. I've been there, seen it, done it, stepped back, and things have been changing. Like I said, they're going to change. They're changing. Just let's make sure everybody's on the same equal playing field. And the city will get better. There's no question in my mind. It's a great city. I love this city. There's great neighborhoods, but we have to protect the neighborhoods. Every neighborhood I go to, I hear a complaint, a story, or whatever. And you know something? They have the right to complain. They have the right to tell me their problems. My reason for running is to try to help those people overcome those problems. Like I said, if it's a street, it's a tree, if it's higher taxes, higher water rates, whatever it may be. People are not happy right now. And we have to put a positive image on this city going forward. It has to be positive, not run it to the newspapers, Boston, TV channels, and everywhere else to make the city negative. A positive attitude. I went over my time. I apologize for that, but I thought I could use Linda Rose's 30 seconds and George Colellis. There's 2 minutes left. But thank you for listening to me. But yes, the city will change, and I think that with a good council, and there are good councils out there, I think we can make a difference to change it to a positive way. Thank you.
The next question will go to Ed O'Hara. Ed O'Hara gets question number 10. Before you go up, I'll add the cable people have asked that we talk directly into the microphone so everyone at home can hear. Question number 10. Are you satisfied with the job the public schools are doing with the city's youth? And what would you change in terms of the city's relationship with the schools?
Good evening, my fellow citizens. Josh, Seth, thank you for the opportunity for me to address fellow citizens. And I want to say hello to those people that are watching. As we all know, public schools have autonomy. There's some argument today as to whether that's good or bad. It simply means that the city council or any other elected official cannot get involved in our school system. However, we have a serious problem here in Revere now. We have an influx of about 10,000 new faces. The last 3 public schools in this city were built to take care of those children, of those people. It's a tremendous tax burden on the taxpayer of this city. We are a welcoming city, and the city council has allowed that to happen. We have to remember that the taxpayers and citizens of this city come first, not second. Now, as far as the school department goes, the second language up there is now English. We have 2/3 of the students in the school department live under the poverty line. That's not by accident. That's because of an influx of immigration. We have one person at Revere High School who is responsible to establish residency for students. That person needs help. The only help they have now is 2 fine police officers, and they're involved in many other duties in the school department. So you see, we have a dilemma. We must slow down immigration. We can't afford to build any more schools, along with a $20 million police department, a police headquarters. That's the difficulty we're facing, and I've met with Superintendent Dakin on 3 occasions in the past 3 or 4 weeks, trying to find ways to relieve that problem. They need help. Our school teachers are wonderful. I believe he's probably the smartest man in the city, so I'm satisfied with the way the schools are run. But remember, these problems have to be addressed. I don't see anyone else mentioning these problems in this city. The fiduciary responsibility of the city council is for the citizens first, and all others second. Thank you very much.
Next question goes to Albert Terminello. And it will be question number 3. Many voters are down on the council. So what attracts you to the position? Why do you want to be a city councilor at large? Al?
Good evening, everybody. Again, I'd like to thank everybody for being here. Revere Journal, Josh, Seth, Carrie, thank you very much, and to the members of the Rumney Marsh Academy and Mr. Mafucci's percussion band. You guys were great, as always. Yeah, in times like this, a lot of people are down on the city council. It's very easy to get that way. There has been a lot of things that have happened and have been voted on by the city council that actually have gone against what the people have asked for. Nothing has been asked for to the citizens of Revere. A lot of decisions are made without their actual vote or input. I decided I'd like to be a city council because I believe I can change that type of view. I want to be part of a larger part rather than just 11 people sitting on a board deciding what's going to happen to the citizens of Revere. But instead, I want to input from everybody in the city. I would like to have meetings set and have people from all over the city come in, represent themselves, and put on what they feel is important to be voted on. And instead of just blindly voting on issues according to what 11 people decide, I would like to see what people want, and that way my decision will be based on that. I can honestly feel that being a city councilor in Revere is something that needs to have a lot of confidence in your elected officials, as well as trust, and have them deal with, when you make decisions, they know that you're dealing with a fair and honest person, and that the decisions that you're making during these tough times is the right one. Again, I'd like to thank you all for coming here, and thank you very much.
Question goes to Councilor John Correggio. The question is question number 5. And question number 5 is, Malden just went to a trash fee program for collecting garbage. Do you think a trash fee is inevitable for Revere, and do you support such a fee?
Thank you very much. I want to thank the Revere Journal and the school administration, and also compliment all the students for their wonderful musical program. I've been on the city council for 6 years. We've been faced with a lot of obstacles as far as taxes and increases. I am strictly against any trash fee for any resident of the city of Revere. Malden has it. I voted against the meals tax in the city of Revere. I think the people have had enough in taxes. The other thing is, I think we need to revitalize our recycling program, expand it to a larger magnitude. Hopefully, we can get some of that money and kind of offset the trash fee. Thank you very much.
Now, you'll notice we had 11 questions. The 10 candidates are here. We're going to read the last question, even though Victoria Laws is absent. And it would have been question number 4. It's the kind of question many councilors would have some fun answering. Do you want to use the city councilor at-large position as a springboard for higher office? Would anybody like to answer that? No, I'm just joking. Thank you very much. That's the first round is over right now. And we go on to the second part, which is a single question that all the councilors will ask. We will ask of all the councilor candidates, and we'll begin with John Correggio and move it around this way. The general question for everyone, and beginning with Councilor Correggio, is casino gambling seems to be knocking on Revere's door once again. A major casino at Suffolk Downs would likely alter Revere. Traffic, nightmares and social problems might well be negatives. New revenues and fees for the city coffers would be a positive. Do you favor casino gaming coming to Revere?
Yes, I do. It's inevitable because it's going to be going through the legislature in a short period of time. I think it's all about jobs, bringing jobs to the city of Revere, and bringing more revenue to the city of Revere. I really think I'm in favor of racino and casino gambling and slots. I think it's one of the major sources of revenue to bring in the city of Revere. But also, before we get into that, I'd like to see a master plan established to make sure we get the proper revenue in the city of Revere. Also, I want to see some conditions that we hire more firefighters and more police officers in the city of Revere before anything takes place, and do a traffic study. Also, I want to see the Point of Pines Fire Station opened before any gaming exists in the city of Revere. That's how I feel. The residents come first, the taxpayers come first, the neighborhoods come first. Thank you very much.
Candidate Al Terminello will answer the same question. And once again, casino gambling, Al, it seems to be knocking on Revere's door once again. Yes, no, good, bad. You know the
Good evening
routine.
again. Well, I don't know what part of all these meetings you've been listening to in the city of Revere during the council meetings. At one point, we have been penalizing some of our local businesses for a rollback at 1 o'clock in the morning for alcohol. These are businesses that have been in Revere for a long time. Secondly, we've lost $2 million in a lawsuit going for a dirty bookstore that actually had no bearing on whatsoever other than out of the pockets of the taxpayers. Now, I guess you want to bring gambling in as an ultimate savior to all our tax problems. Well, gambling with casinos comes in, comes prostitution, comes more drugs, comes more insurance problems, comes traffic, comes a lot of other problems. I understand that the quick and easy money makes very, very fine place to be, but right now, like I always said, I want accountability to the taxpayers of Revere. So before I want to see any type of gambling in, other than I do believe in slots, but other than that, I want to see a vote citywide to see what the taxpayers and the people in this city want. That is the only true way that Revere can accept casinos or racinos. Slot machines in our local establishments, I don't feel any problem with. Secondly, whatever happened to, they wanted to put metal detectors on the blue line because a couple of high school kids came to Revere Beach. What are they going to do with the influx of people that come in for the casinos? There are a lot of more issues to be discussed rather than say, give me all your money because we're going to take it for gambling. Thank you very much.
Next will be candidate Ed O'Hara on the casino question.
Thank you. Well, I thought we had mini casinos here now. In any event, it's no question on my mind that that's a ballot question. That's a question that the citizens of Revere have a right to decide. I will hold off on casinos at this point until I find out what their ideas are and what their problems might be if a casino is here. You know, gambling is a tough thing. I started hustling programs in Revere when I was 13 years old at the dog track and then went to Suffolk Downs. I remember playing my first slot machine when I was about 12 years old in Bell Circle. So I don't think it's a very good idea for our youth. I wish Frank Sinatra was around. I'd ask him for his opinion. We all know those movies of years ago about the casinos in Vegas and what kind of people it brings in. The type of police department would have to have, the influx of all kinds of other people. No, I'm a little afraid of casinos. Casinos are only wanted when city government fails. This city government has failed. This city has a debt of $110 million that has to be paid by your children and grandchildren. We're deficit spending now. There's no money, no cash. And casinos is not the answer to bail out poor judgment. Thank you.
Okay, the next to speak is candidate Richard Penta on the casino question.
This question actually is about 3 months to speak on, but am I for it, am I against it?
Try to do it in like 2 minutes.
I will. The pros and cons of this are heavy on both ends. I think the first thing we have to do is get everything on the table before even the public can make a decision on it, is what are the positives, what are the negatives. We already know the infrastructure has to be changed. Are they willing to pitch in for that, or does the state have to do it, which is our money? There's a lot of things that have to be looked at. What percent is the host town going to get? Is Boston going to get more of this and that? It's a lot of things on the table, but the police department has to get involved and find out what it's going to take for them to handle this monstrosity. If it's casino and you do it right, I mean, people will come if you build it. And the problem with that is all problems come with it. But if the police department is brought to the table and said, we need X amount of dollars. The fire department is brought, there's a fire station right there, but why should we man all those calls? It's going to take away from service in other areas of the city. These things all have to be looked at. The fire department should be involved in this very strongly. The police department should be involved very strongly. The infrastructure of the city definitely has to drastically be changed. Probably a road on top of a road. Who is paying for these? You know, when the stadium almost came here, it went out to Foxborough. The state picked up a big cost of that. I don't think the state should pick up any of this. It's a private entity coming in here. It's not the state owning this. There's a lot at stake here. You know, it's a one-time shot. It's not much more opportunity the city has. We don't have, we're not land rich. We have the beach, which should be a committee set up on that, and we'll talk about that another day. But as far as this here, there's a lot to be talked about, a lot of answers to be answered, and could it be a good thing? No question. Could it be a bad thing? Yes, but we got to outweigh it and see where it comes out and how much money this city is going to get. I mean, it's a private entity. It's not, you know, someone else is going to make that money, but everything should be addressed, from public safety to public safety, you know, roads, streets, fire, police, like I said, because we are going to pay a price for this. Is the price outweighed by how much money the city can make? Because the city needs money. There's only a couple places you're going to get it. And trust me, if the tracks close down, this and that, and they're talking about it, and that we lose that money, it'll give me more trouble. But until I hear all the facts and all the figures, I'll make the decision then. Thank you.
Former Mayor and Councilor at Large, Robert Haas.
Thank you. Just last year, when they had the public hearings in the State House, I went in to give public testimony that I would be in favor of casino racing within the Commonwealth of Mass. I believe it. There are issues that have to be addressed even prior to a vote coming up in the state delegation. We have to address, as was mentioned by the previous speakers, we have to look at what type of casino will we have at Suffolk and on Wonderland. As we all know, Suffolk Downs and Wonderland have an agreement. If casino goes into Suffolk Downs, they would utilize the property at Wonderland Dog Track. This will not be hammered out in the next couple of years. You may have a vote on it within the next year or two, but this is going to take a lot of planning, infrastructure repairs, and basically a lot of analytical work to make sure it is feasible for the said locations I just mentioned. The infrastructure, getting there right now, North Shore Road, and you have basically Broadway Revere, which right now they're all congested. You have Lever Bank Highway is congested. So we have a lot of planning to do. The state has a tremendous amount of planning to do. And also, as a host community, Revere could benefit. Revere could get 0.25%, and that's what they were talking about in the past, from basically Suffolk, and also as an abutter to Suffolk Downs, we get another 0.25% for that. And that brings in much needed revenue to Revere, gives us an opportunity to expand the police departments, the fire departments, and use the money coming in for meaningful projects. So thank you all, and you'll be hearing about the casino program coming up in the next 6 months, hopefully. Thank you.
Next to speak is George Rotundo.
Thank you. Thank you for the question. I think first and foremost, we have to take a look at what has taken place. the state legislature is going to actually vote on this. They're probably going to vote affirmatively. I believe that's what everybody's been echoing between Deval Patrick, Representative DeLeo, and many, many others. So with that said, regardless of the moral issues that are attached to it, some which I have great problems with, we have to take a look at the logic of it. It's going to be placed either in Revere or in Boston. One way or another, Revere is going to be impacted. And one of the things that I've done, actually, as Mr. O'Hara had pointed out, is that the people of Revere should have a vote. They should have a right to voice what they feel about it. But unfortunately, the mystery of City Hall, I don't know what happened to that. This body, many of the people, on the council voted affirmatively to have a vote on this very issue. And yet, for some reason, it never took place. It never got to the ballot. Now, there's some issues with that. Lastly, what we have to take a look at is, what are we going to do as a community? Are we going to wait for it to come to us? Or are we going to be proactive and figure out what problems are we going to have? You know that we're going to have service calls to these hotels, to these casinos. You know that people are going to have illnesses and so forth, and the fire department's going to have to respond. You know that the police are going to have to respond. So we have to have a game plan. That's what I want to do first and foremost. And lastly, what I think is more important is we need to prepare for the future, not just for casinos, but for development in Revere. We support Waterfront Park, a $500 million project. We support many other projects in this city. We're looking to put hotels in Revere. Matter of fact, Roseland Properties at this very moment negotiating with different companies to see if they can bring a hotel to Revere, as well as other companies. Let's work on the positive and not the negatives. And I think if we come together, like we have in the past, we'll do good for you. Thank you.
The next person is former Mayor, Councilor at Large, George Colella.
Thank you very much. Casino gambling. Let us establish the fact that Revere is not in the woods such as Foxwoods or Mohegan Sun. It's an entirely different atmosphere. We are part of metropolitan Boston, contiguous to the city of Boston, and all the problems that could come about from being in that position. I honestly believe that I have always been ideologically opposed to gaming. And for the most part, I still am. I think it would be absolutely ludicrous for this city to support casino gambling or any other type gambling, form of gambling, without it being given the facts as they should be. All we hear from those proponents of casino gambling are the millions and millions upon millions of dollars that it will generate. But I, for one, have not read, nor have I seen, nor have I read into the legislation that is now before the legislature, if that's where it's at, what it will do, especially for a host city such as the city of Revere. We would have insurmountable problems brought upon the city by casino gambling or any other form of expanded gambling that could be brought to the city. And so I would say that the taxpayers of this city should be given the opportunity to know just exactly what the benefits to the city would be and what the problems that are generated by casino gambling would bring to the city. I think it's owed to the taxpayers of the city, and I, for one, will insist upon that happening. Thank you very much.
Former Councilor Linda Rosa is next.
Thank you. Well, just like all of the previous speakers, I too would like to withhold if I'm in favor or against, because I have not seen the benefits or the impact that it would have on our city. Unfortunately, through the years of Suffolk Downs, they're on approximately 200 acres of property. 90 of those acres are in the city of Revere, 110 are in the city of Boston. For years, we have received the tail end of that track, while Boston receives the head of the horse. So before I make final decisions into seeing, and hopefully that things, yes, we do need revenue, but there are a lot of other avenues that we can look at. And as far as the legislature being involved in this, I'm not aware of anything in front of them right now, because they certainly haven't sat down with owners and people who are even interested in coming into the state of Massachusetts for casino gambling. Now, I'd like to also step aside of that for a moment, because in our packages, we received that if we had a few extra seconds, we could give a little bit of background on ourselves. Yes, I am a former city councilor. For the last 15 years, I have worked for the state Senate. I worked for Senate President Bob Travellini, and now I'm currently working in Senator Petroselli's office and still being kept by the Senate President. During that time, there have been 3 schools built here, 90% state funded. There was a land swap from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts so that the police and fire department could house a new facility. We have a new skating rink. We have the Revere Beach, and the money in the past had always been on Revere Beach, except this time it was earmarked. We have 2 pickups, and we also have health care put into place. And to all of my friends that are Jewish, have a happy holiday. Thank you.
Next to speak will be City Council President Dan Rizzo.
Thank you, Josh, very much for that question. First off, we've heard a couple of things, and this is the benefit of going next to last. You've had a chance to listen to some things. Yes, the city, like all cities across the Commonwealth, is in pretty tough financial shape, particularly as it relates to local aid. Local aid, we can only hope to get what we can get, but that's all based on the economy that everyone's experiencing across the country. In spite of that, the city of Revere, for the first time in the city's history, received a bond rating of A. Now that, I think, is a testament to what's been going on in city government during these last several years. In a bad economy, the city's bond rating was upgraded. That tells me something good is happening in the city of Revere. With respect to gaming, I have always been a proponent of expanded gaming, and I see Representative Reinstein here with us tonight, and we're all very proud of her. She's in leadership along with the Speaker of the House, Bob DeLeo. I know that they have been advocates of expanded gaming, and I don't think that they're going to go into this without doing their homework. The one thing I know, we talk about the negatives, what might come. And that's going to become a self-fulfilling prophecy if we talk about all the bad things that's going to happen if we get expanded gaming here. But if somebody here can tell me the difference between a scratch ticket, bingo, Wonderland, Suffolk Downs, what are we talking about? We're talking about putting slot machines in? There's nobody here, probably nobody watching, that hasn't seen slot machines before. I would be a proponent, and I just got the 30-second mark, so I know I have to wrap my comments up, but I'll tell you what, it's about jobs, it's about money. I'm tired of Massachusetts taxpayers building schools in Connecticut. It's about time that we started creating jobs for people here at home and brought much-needed revenue to cities and towns that have been struggling. So I am a proponent, will continue to be a proponent, and I hope that going forward our legislature passes some sort of legislation to finally make it a reality. Thank you very much.
The last to speak on casino gambling is Councilor at Large Tony Zambuto.
Thank you again. I'll say quick and short that I've been a proponent of casino gambling. There's been a lot talked about as to the pros and cons of casino gambling. Let me just say, the history of Revere is an entertainment city. There were games of chance on Revere Beach for years. We've had Wonderland, Suffolk Downs. A lot of people have gone to work because of entertainment. That's what this is. That's what a casino will bring to the city of Revere. So my quick answer is, I'm for it. Now, every vote I take on this Revere City Council is a vote of my conscience. I do my homework on anything I vote on. I've done a lot of homework on this. I know the pros and cons. I would welcome a ballot question for the people, and I think informed voters would be in favor of it. But let me use the rest of my time to just talk about what I think about being on this city council. I think leadership is about setting goals and achieving them. I came to this Revere City Council with a goal. My goal was to build a public safety facility. I put my heart and soul in that. We have a $20 million state-of-the-art public safety facility. I didn't do it alone. I'm not taking credit by myself. My colleagues all worked hard with me and came along board. But it was not a popular thing when I first got on the city council. And that's what leadership is about. It's about doing what's right, even when it's not popular. Now, I've been called, and I call myself the fiscal watchdog on this Revere City Council. I've put things in place that will last a lot longer than I'm against special interest. I vote for the taxpayers. I put in place a change that you cannot vote on a special permit on the same night. It eliminates pressure from political people, and it protects against a bad proposal going through. I put in a proposal that you have to, if you're going, the city council is going to spend more than $5,000 with a vote of the council, we have to get a complete financial analysis. That protects against voting for legislation that would cost over $500,000 to the taxpayers. Those are the things I do. I will represent the city. I ask for your support to continue to do what I do, and that is to represent you. Thank you.
Yes. This concludes the short program. We want to thank the candidates for coming. I think we should give everybody a hearty round of applause.
All right, we have myself, Seth Daniel, senior reporter at the Revere Journal, and Joshua Resnick, our editor and vice president. And we're just going to discuss what happened tonight. We had a debate, question and answer. We thought everyone did well. Josh, you were sitting here. You were the moderator. How did you think that this went?
I thought everybody presented themselves very well.
Mm-hmm.
I think some people are more articulate than others. Some people have more ideas than others. But as you go through the 10 people that were here, you got the regular de rigueur, George Colella, with his political speak, well modulated, right in tune with how he thinks, presented well. I thought newcomer Al Terminello did a great job, very homespun type of presentation. I thought that Tony Zambuto did well. I thought Dan Rizzo did well. I'm not going to mention every single person is doing well, but everyone did pretty well. I kind of enjoyed Ed O'Hara.
Yeah, Ed had a question. Since he decided to run, he's been calling us routinely and talking about the schools. I thought that he, by luck, of course, got the question that fit him. What did you think of his answer to that question?
It was quintessential Ed O'Hara. Ed's the kind of fella that he has a lot of anger about things that have changed. He'd rather go back to yesterday when this was a much different place with different people here. And I thought his answer to the question this time was much better than the kinds of things I would hear him saying in my office, because I thought he was rational and made a good point that English is a second language in the city of Revere Public Schools. but it's a second language in almost every public school these days. Within the urban ring.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Now, this race it's been heated, and it's been going on for quite some time. Some of it's been in the public eye in the paper. Some of it has been behind the scenes and things that no one wants to mention. But it's been heated. Candidates have been after one another. They've been really politicking quite a bit. What does this debate here? This was much more cordial than we've seen so far in this race. What does this debate do to the race?
well, I wouldn't get carried away. It was hardly a debate.
Okay, the question and answer.
The question and answer was civilized just by the makeup of the
Okay.
program, the protocol. They
Mhm.
couldn't talk to each other.
Mhm.
Although a few of them did start to speak to one another by espousing their own personal views on certain subjects.
Sure, behind us, as
Yeah.
we were given it, yeah.
That being said, what you saw in the answers these people gave and the way they
Mhm.
presented themselves, in the broader sense, what I saw was that trying to become a counselor at large
Mhm.
at the expense of incumbents losing their seats
Mhm.
is a very difficult thing in Revere.
Mhm.
Things don't change easily by their nature in this city or anywhere,
Mhm.
for that matter. Change is something that generally repels people, it scares people.
It's
Even
true.
though I believe this is a year of change,
Mhm.
and that people are discouraged, discontent.
What has brought that on?
Well, obviously, the near collapse of the American empire, the economic empire. You
As a
know,
nation, yeah.
A year ago, all of us could sell our homes, all of us had retirement accounts, all of
Mhm.
us had substantially different portfolios than we have today, a year later.
Mhm.
There was an automobile industry a year ago.
Yep.
There's barely an automobile industry. There was a Lehman Brothers,
Mhm.
largest
So
in
you're
the
saying
world.
these national events could carry over into this council race at the local
Absolutely. The
level?
election of Barack Obama
Mhm.
signaled that this was a year of extraordinary change,
Mhm.
and that will definitely carry over. I think people want change.
Yep.
I think you're going to see some change, but to what extent?
We'll see on November. right?
Yes.
Well, okay, we had 10 people here tonight, 10 candidates. We have 5 incumbents and 5 challengers. Tonight, who got the upper hand? The challengers needed to make a big impression. Who got the upper hand here? Did incumbents come out, in a higher plane? Did they boost their image? Or did the challengers make a big splash?
I think it was down the middle on that.
Really?
I
Okay.
mean, the incumbents have the lingua franca of people that have been in City Hall for a long time.
Mhm.
They've got the language down, they've got the moves down. Dan Rizzo was pretty good talking about casino gambling
Mhm.
and the obvious benefits it would bring to the city.
Mhm.
Al Terminello being totally against it, and then saying that we need more money.
Mhm.
One can't exist without the other.
Mhm.
But he also made his point very well. So I thought it was down the middle. I thought
Mhm.
everybody did fairly well.
Yeah. I
Of course,
thought the same
everybody
thing.
had all the questions the day before.
It's true, and how do you think that affected this discussion, or the question and answer that we've had?
I think someone like Ed O'Hara
Mhm.
went back to his, I've never been in his room, but I'm sure there's stacks of paper everywhere that he can prove
I'm certain of it,
everything.
yeah.
And he'd studied everything.
Mhm.
And I think someone like Bob Haas, who's been a mayor for 8 years,
Mhm.
this is routine.
Yep.
There wasn't a question he couldn't answer. There wasn't a question Colella couldn't answer. There wasn't a
Mhm.
question Zambuto couldn't answer. There wasn't a question John Correggio couldn't
Okay.
answer.
Now you've handicapped this race going on for now like 3 months. You have a little sheet, you place people up and down. It changes like daily. In fact, it changes from morning to afternoon
Very
sometimes.
depressing thought. That this is what my life has come to.
Your work life, right?
There you go.
Uh-huh. Well,
Some aspects of it.
What tonight has changed in your handicapping of this race?
I think looking at these people
Mhm.
and realizing that the people that have been there for years and years and years and years
Mhm.
are not going to go quietly
Mhm.
or easily, despite this undercurrent of change, which is apparent throughout the city when you go out to talk to people. And so, will there be dramatic changes on the board? If ever there were a year for that to happen, this is it. But
Mhm.
will that happen? Very doubtful.
Okay.
There could be,
Mhm.
you know, and now I can probably equivocate myself to death and then just fall off the table. But,
Gonna get some visits tomorrow morning, right?
you know, 2 or 3 counselors could lose their positions.
Mhm.
No, nothing could change.
Mm.
The voters go in to vote, everybody who's told everyone who's campaigning hard, yeah, I'm gonna give you a vote.
Yep.
These are Revere people. God
Mhm.
knows what they're gonna do when they go on the ballot.
Only they know.
Only they know.
And with that, I guess we'll close it down. We've had fun tonight. I hope everyone else had tonight. There was supposed to be a primary, there was supposed to be a preliminary vote. Instead, we had a question and answer. So we invite everyone to please vote in November and come out to your local polling place.
And we thank everybody for watching.
Absolutely.
And listening and, you know, making use of what went on here. It's important.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we're here right now with Cindy Evans, the principal of the Rumney Marsh Academy. She's been the principal here for 4 years. Tonight, we had a question and answer at the Rumney Marsh, and one of the things that we'd like to do is highlight the school. It's a brand-new school. It's been in use for 1 year and about a month, and it's got some wonderful facilities, some great amenities, and it's got a great principal. The Revere Journal has a partnership with the Rumney Marsh Academy and its journalism program, just for full disclosure. And we've worked very cooperatively so far with the journalism program, the administration, and just about every teacher here. Now, like I said, you've been here for 4 years. What's your background in the Revere schools?
I've actually been with the Revere Schools for 30 years.
30 years.
30 years.
Wow.
And
This year?
This year.
Well,
as a matter of-
congratulations.
Thank you.
Mhm.
And I virtually have been at every school in the
Mhm.
system, having taught every grade and every subject.
Any schools that are closed?
Yes, the Mary T. Ronan.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. All right.
So I have a long, long history in
Mhm.
Revere.
Great, great. And first of all, the thing that's most impressive about the school is the lecture hall. I really like it. We had a great event tonight in the lecture hall. It's set up perfect for that. When this was nothing but steel girders and a little bit of sheetrock, Dr. Dakin said, one day we'll have a debate or something here. And I took him up on that, and it worked out really well. Now, tell us more about this school's architectural design, specifically this lecture hall. How does its setup promote the community and school conversations that you hope would happen here?
The lecture hall actually seats 220 people.
Mhm.
It's by virtue of that, very small, intimate. We bring in a grade at a time.
Mhm.
As you see, the stage is round.
Yes, you
so
use it
that
quite frequently.
We use it a lot. We use it a
Mhm.
lot. We have lots of assemblies, and as I said, we bring a grade in at a time. So the distance between you and the audience, anyone presenting on this stage and the audience, is very, very short.
It's a
So
cozy
very-
place. It really
It's very
is.
intimate.
Yep.
And oftentimes, I don't use a microphone.
Mhm.
The sound in here, the acoustics are excellent, so that you
Mhm.
can project quite easily
Yep.
and be very natural. Therefore, you don't need a microphone.
Yep.
And that, I think, enhances the presentation when you're talking with students.
Mhm.
Adults,
Yep.
Just
Yes,
yesterday, we
definitely.
had Meet the Teacher,
Mhm.
had all the
And they
adults
came in here.
They came in here, I
very good.
greeted them, very informal. I was
Mhm.
seated on the edge of the round
Mhm.
stage.
Yep.
My assistant principals were on either side of me, and we
Mhm.
had a very, very open conversation.
Yep.
So for that reason, it's very good.
Very nice, very nice.
Mhm.
Now, we have a great performance tonight by the Rumney Marsh Percussion Ensemble under Tom Mafucci. They did great once again. They always do. They played our national anthem, and they played for everyone coming in. But in the foyer, there's another nice little story, and that is the Button Memorial, and that's a tribute to those who lost their lives on September 11th in the terrorist attacks. It's a very focal point in the lobby. When you come in, it's like 10 feet tall.
It is,
And
it
you
is.
can't miss it because you look at it, and first you wonder what it is. But it
True.
is obviously the Twin Towers once you
Yes.
take a small look at it. And I just wonder, where did the idea come from, and what are the reactions from students and staff members to this memorial?
Well, it's such a rich story. It actually came from reading the Diary of Anne Frank.
Oh, really?
With Miss Lucy Perky,
Mhm.
Lauren Bagley, the two ELA teachers at the time.
Mhm.
These students at that time were in grade 7,
Good.
and it was 2006. He
That's some deep
teaches-
stuff for a seventh grader.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And
that's
they
good.
got into a whole conversation about intolerance in the
Mhm.
world. And through that conversation came up 9/11.
Mhm.
The class then really thought about, well, what can we do to commemorate
Yes.
and in some way show that we understand
Mhm.
what happened at that time? There were a variety of ideas, that were bopped around. They finally settled on collecting buttons.
Ah.
So they
This
collected...
is like buttons for, that might be right
buttons,
here, like on a
your
shirt.
shirt.
coat,
They
anything.
did a campaign, they collected buttons throughout the city, throughout the state. And in fact, there is a button from Regis Philbin
Regis Philbin.
hanging up there.
Uh-huh.
They collected all these buttons, and then the thought was, well, what are we going to do with all these
Mhm.
buttons? They did know that they wanted to make a gift to the new Rumney Marsh. At that time, we were located at the Beachmont School.
Oh, yes, before you
Yeah.
came into the new school.
Exactly.
Okay.
So they talked with the art teacher, Miss
Mhm.
Rebecca Fellows, and
Mhm.
Rebecca is actually the person that designed what the final product was.
Uh-huh.
She took the buttons, did the color displays. The children spent 2 years.
2 years.
2 years,
Yeah.
after school, meticulously sewing
Mhm.
and gluing those buttons in
Now,
place.
I've heard they dropped almost everything that they were doing,
They-
extracurricular activities and other
They
things.
did for 2 years, and like
Mhm.
many things, it started out as 2 classes, which probably about 40 kids.
Mhm.
It ended up as a core of 6 kids,
Mhm.
and it kind of ended up being like a sewing bee and
Yep.
a sewing circle, that every single afternoon, these 3 teachers, these 6 children would
Mhm.
be together sewing on buttons, gluing on buttons, and the final product,
Mhm.
as you saw, is just magnificent.
Yep.
They gave it as a gift to the new Rumney Marsh, but it was just a frame. It
Uh-huh.
was a piece of cloth with buttons
Mhm.
on a frame. It was the children of the new Rumney Marsh who collected $1.11
Mhm.
on 9/11 of last year
Really?
to pay for the framing,
The framing.
the framing,
Wow.
which was done just at cost, excuse me, by
Mhm.
a handyman, actually, who refinishes homes,
Mhm.
was the husband of one of our science
Okay.
teachers, Matt Roman.
Yeah, so I-
it's a real nice story.
It is, and it seems like one of those things, after 9/11, in 2001, many people just came together spontaneously and did a lot of things. It sounds like that's still going on here.
It's still going
with the
on.
Button
It's still
Memorial.
going on. And of course, last Friday was very special for us
Yeah.
with having that memorial
Yeah, this was
here.
the first September 11th that it was in place.
Exactly right, yes, yeah.
Well, moving to a different question, one thing, this is a middle school, 6th, 7th, and
Yes,
8th.
yes.
It's the awkward years for kids, girls
Yes.
and boys. Now, it's hard to get their attention, but one of the things you guys have here is a journalism program. Not only the school newspaper, which we help, but
Yes.
you also have TV.
Correct.
And sometimes they do it right here in the lecture hall.
Correct.
And so
Yes.
what advances has this communications theme for the school? Because it is a communications school.
True.
What has it made over the past year?
Over the past year, we've actually gone onto the web.
Mhm.
So the RMA Reporter, which is the newspaper, is
Yeah.
on the web.
Wow.
And they have, I know, I'm very
Wow.
excited about that.
What's the address for people who would want to
Oh,
look
I'm
at
so
it?
sorry, I don't know it
Well,
off
they
the
can
top
just
of my
search on
head.
Google for Rumney Marsh
You know,
Academy,
it's
and I'm
on
sure
the
they'll
Rumney
find it.
Marsh website.
Okay.
If you go to the RPS website
Yep.
and then check into Rumney Marsh, you
They'll
can go
find it
right into,
there.
yes. And I'm
Very
sorry
good.
for not knowing off the top of my head.
That's all right, they'll find it.
Because everything I click, and there I am.
It's all automatic, isn't it?
It's
Yeah.
true, it's
Mhm.
true. This year, we hope to do podcasting.
Wow.
Yes,
Now, I don't even know
yes.
what that is, but I
Well-
think it has something to do with the cell phone.
The iPod.
iPod,
Yes,
okay.
and you can get messages, so we're very excited
Mhm.
about that. On the digital media side, in the past, we did have a television show, RMA
Mhm.
Today. The program itself now, in order to give all the students some experience and some exposure to digital media,
Mhm.
we have changed it up a bit, and it doesn't really lend itself to a long-term program.
Yeah.
We're looking more at community service announcements,
Oh, wow.
public service announcements.
Good.
And I think it's a very real possibility that
Mhm.
you'll see on cable an
Mhm.
RMA-produced commercial as a
Good.
public service announcement.
Now,
this year.
I've seen some of the reporters, both for
Yes.
TV and worked with them, and for the newspapers, and some of them are hard-fighting investigative reporters in the
know.
making, and I've seen a couple of times where they have really put you on the spot with some questions, once
They
about
have.
the varieties of milk
Yes.
in the cafeteria.
Yes, but it was that investigative report
Uh-huh.
that made me look at, okay, well, why do we only have chocolate
Mhm.
and vanilla? And led to, yes, we have coffee, we have strawberry
Mhm.
now, so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
their investigation worked.
They're
That was
they're
quite a
amazing.
story.
They're truly amazing. They're great. They're
Well,
great.
in conclusion, what, we've just started a school year.
Yes.
The kids are just getting seasoned right now, I'm sure. What are your hopes and goals for the school year going forward?
Well, my hopes and goals for the school year.
Mhm.
For the school itself, it has to be the best school.
Yeah.
It just does.
Number one in the
And
middle
then-
schools.
Number one in the middle schools, and
Mhm.
I think it's a very real possibility because each student works so hard.
Mhm.
The teachers work hard, the students work hard. We want to see, yes, the journalism program flourish, we want to see
Mhm.
digital media flourish,
Yeah.
but those things flourish because of the academic rigor
That's
that
right.
we have here,
That's
and
right.
that we offer.
The basics.
The basics. You know, journalism, they report on science fair, they report on history fair, they
right.
report on the spelling bee.
Mhm.
So all of those basics, that's the core. And then the
Mhm.
journalism's kind of the frosting.
Yeah, it is, but no one's getting out of here without reading, writing, and arithmetic.
No, it's a multiliterate world, and that's
Mhm.
truly my final goal. After 3 years, I want RMA students to
Mhm.
leave with a solid education
Mhm.
and be multiliterate.
Yep, very well done. Well, I think they're doing a great job, and we certainly appreciate you inviting us in and letting us use the lecture hall for a community event. And I guess we'll just wrap it up with that. It's been great being here, and we thank everyone for watching. Good night.